From the Renaissance era, Leonardo da Vinci's masterpieces, like the Mona Lisa, revolutionized portrait art through exploration of human expression. During the Baroque period, Caravaggio emerged with dramatic use of light and shadow, capturing intense, emotive scenes that bewildered viewers. The 19th century showcased Vincent van Gogh's vivid works, including Starry Night, which used bold colors and emotive brushstrokes. In the modern era, Frida Kahlo's evocative self-portraits challenged norms and conveyed a powerful personal and cultural narrative. Art, design, and the visionary concepts of prolific artists. Let us delve into the lives of those who brought vibrancy to the canvas of creativity. Welcome to the Artsy Tea channel. I am to serve as your tour guide for this episode. Let's step into the world of Frida Kahlo. Frida was born in 1907 in Coyoacan, Mexico, in a bright blue house that would later become a museum of her life. Her father was a German photographer, her mother of indigenous and Spanish descent. From the start, Frida's life was marked by hardship. She contracted polio at age 6, which left her with a limp and a fierce determination to defy physical limits. She was bold, athletic, and intellectually curious, even joining a group of politically active students at the prestigious National Preparatory School in Mexico City. At 18, Frida's life took a brutal turn. A bus she was riding collided with a streetcar, and a metal handrail pierced her body. The injuries were catastrophic: fractured spine, pelvis, ribs, and more. She spent months in a full-body cast, isolated and in agony. But from that bed, something extraordinary bloomed. She began to paint. Her first self-portrait emerged not from vanity, but from necessity. As she once said, "I paint myself because I am so often alone, and because I am the subject I know best." Frida's early works were intimate, raw, and deeply personal. She painted her pain, her identity, her dreams. Her style blended Mexican folk art with surreal, symbolic imagery, though she insisted she never painted dreams, only her reality. Her canvases became her voice, her therapy, and her rebellion. Now let's dive in! While Frida was recovering from her accident and just beginning to paint seriously, Diego Rivera was already a towering figure in Mexican art, 20 years older, larger than life, and known for his murals and his many affairs. When Frida approached him with her paintings, asking if he thought she had talent, he said yes and then fell headfirst into her fire. Their relationship was passionate, volatile, and deeply intertwined with their art. They married in 1929, divorced in 1939, and remarried a year later. Frida once called him "my second accident," and honestly, that says it all. He cheated often, famously with her sister Christina, and Frida, though devastated, had her own affairs with both men and women. Their love was messy, but it was also magnetic. They couldn't stay away from each other. What's wild is how much they inspired one another. Diego adored Frida's raw honesty and emotional depth. Frida, despite the betrayals, often said Diego was the love of her life. She painted him into her work, sometimes as a third eye, sometimes as a wound. He was her muse, her torment, her anchor. Their love wasn't perfect, but it was real, it was revolutionary, and it left a mark on both their canvases and their souls. Let's talk about her paintings and connection to animals. Frida's connection to animals in her paintings was deeply personal, symbolic, and emotional, almost like they were extensions of her inner world. She surrounded herself with creatures at La Casa Azul: monkeys, parrots, dogs, deer, even a fawn named Granizo. But these weren't just pets. They were companions, protectors, and sometimes stand-ins for the children she couldn't have. After her accident and multiple miscarriages, animals became a kind of surrogate family, offering comfort and unconditional presence. In her self-portraits, animals often appear wrapped around her shoulders, perched beside her, or staring directly at the viewer. The spider monkeys, for example, show up again and again, not as playful creatures, but as quiet, watchful figures. Some interpret them as symbols of longing, others as guardians or emotional mirrors. She also used animals to express pain and resilience. In The Wounded Deer, she paints herself as a deer pierced by arrows, standing in a forest, vulnerable but still upright. In Self-Portrait, with Thorn Necklace and Hummingbird, a dead hummingbird hangs from her neck like a pendant, while a monkey tugs at the thorn necklace, drawing blood. It's not just surrealism, it's storytelling through fur, feathers, and symbolism. Frida's life was a tapestry of brilliance and boldness, but it wasn't without its thorns. Even beyond the heartbreaks and health battles, she stirred up plenty of controversy, some in her time and some that's only come to light more recently. Frida was unapologetically political. She was a committed communist, hosted Leon Trotsky in her home, and painted with revolutionary fervor. That didn't sit well with everyone, especially in post-revolutionary Mexico and Cold War-era America. Her politics made her both a cultural icon and a target of suspicion. Frida carefully crafted her image. Traditional Tehuana dresses, elaborate hairstyles, and indigenous jewelry. It was a celebration of Mexicanidad, but some critics now argue that she appropriated indigenous culture for aesthetic and political effect. She once admitted she wore the Tehuana dress simply because she liked it, not because she had a direct connection to the region. As it was mentioned earlier, her love life was a storm. Beyond Diego's betrayals and her own affairs, she had rumored relationships with famous figures like Trotsky and Josephine Baker. Some admired her casual freedom, others saw it as scandalous. Either way, she lived on her own terms, even when it ruffled feathers. Frida's paintings were raw, miscarriages, surgeries, heartbreak, and rage laid bare on canvas. Some galleries refused to show her work because it was too graphic or too personal, but that's exactly what made her revolutionary. She didn't flinch, and she didn't let others look away. Even now her legacy is debated. Is she a feminist icon or a problematic figure, a voice for the marginalized or a master of self-mythology? The truth is, she was all of it, complex, contradictory, and unforgettable. Frida's final years were as intense and unflinching as the rest of her life, filled with pain, defiance, and a kind of radiant sorrow that she poured into her last works. By the early 1950s, her health had sharply declined. She'd undergone dozens of surgeries, was often bedridden, and had her right leg amputated below the knee due to gangrene. The physical agony was relentless, but so was her spirit. She painted from her bed, propped up with mirrors and pillows, refusing to let her body silence her voice. In 1953, she had her first solo exhibition in Mexico. Doctors told her she couldn't attend, so she arrived in an ambulance, was carried in on a stretcher, and held court from a four-poster bed placed in the middle of the gallery. That moment, pure Frida, fierce, theatrical, and unforgettable. She died on July 13, 1954, at just 47 years old. The official cause was a pulmonary embolism, but no autopsy was performed, and some believe it may have been an intentional overdose. Her last diary entry read, "I hope the exit is joyful, and I hope never to return." Even in death, she left behind a mystery, a legacy, and a challenge to the world, to see beauty in pain, to speak truth through art, and to live unapologetically. After Frida's death in 1954, her legacy didn't just grow, it blazed into something mythic. At first, she was remembered mostly in Mexico, and even then, often in the shadow of Diego Rivera. But in the decades that followed, her work began to resonate far beyond her homeland. The 1970s feminist movement rediscovered her as a symbol of female strength, resilience, and unapologetic self-expression. Suddenly, her paintings, once dismissed as too personal or too painful, were being hailed as revolutionary. By the 1980s and 90s, Frida had become a global icon. Frida Kahlo's art, once dismissed as too personal, is now studied, exhibited, and revered for its raw emotion and cultural power. La Casa Azul, her childhood home, became a museum just 4 years after her death, and today draws visitors from around the world. Frida has become more than an artist. She's a symbol of resilience, identity, and rebellion. Her legacy lives not only in her vibrant, unflinching brushstrokes, but in everyone who turns struggle into strength and truth into art. I trust you found this story and lesson enjoyable. Please remain attentive for future episodes of the Artsy Tea. Until next time.